Welcome everyone to the very first in a nutshell of 2023. I figure we celebrate the spirit of a new beginning by taking a look into one of my favorite orphan hero origin stories, Batman Begins. So let's begin. Our journey begins with the young Bruce Wayne chasing after this kid named Rachel. He's trying to steal this dumb rock she found. He snatches it and hides in some bushes like a Vietnam soldier, but then he falls down this deep well and he somehow doesn't break his ankles or take any amount of fall damage. A massive army of bats come flying out of the dark trying to bully Bruce until he shits his pants. Then he wakes up from his PTSD nightmare. He's in the gulag trying to have breakfast, but then this loser comes out of nowhere and starts a fight with Bruce, probably because he's the only white dude there. But Bruce doesn't even see this dude as a threat. He slaps him around like he's beating his meat, and then a bunch of other dudes gang up on him, but he's dropping them one by one, cracking joints like a chiropractor. Prison guards break up the fight and toss Bruce into the hole because he's a menace to those criminals. And then Liam Neeson steps out of the shadows and knows that's Bruce Wayne, and Bruce is like, how'd you know? He just doesn't know that Liam Neeson has a very particular set of skills he's acquired throughout his career that help him find and kill people. But he's not here to kill Bruce. No, he's here to offer him a chance to join his cult that believes in getting rid of and serve true justice. All he has to do to join is bring him a blue flower. So the next day he's released, he begins his journey to find the blue flower. Once he finds it, he climbs the tippity top of Mount Chiliad where the League of Shadows cult is at. He goes inside to meet the leader of the cult, and they're like, what do you seek? And Bruce is like, vengeance. So Liam challenges him to a fight, but Bruce is like,
really feel like it.
And he's like, death does not wait for you to be ready. That's not his accent, but well, we'll just go with it. Bruce gets his ass handed to him so hard. He gets a flashback of him and his parents going to some opera show, and coincidentally there's a bunch of bats in the play. So Bruce starts having his nom flashbacks again, and he tells his dad he wants to leave. So they leave the theater through the back alley because they're too filthy rich to walk through the front door, because only poor people use the front door. And this random bum approaches them asking for some spare change. So Bruce's dad hands him his wallet like a generous billionaire, but this hobo knows he can get even more money, so he points his Second Amendment right to Bruce's mom, but Thomas Wayne moves in front of her, which startles the poor bum into shooting Thomas. But luckily, this man isn't sexist. He's an equal opportunist. He shoots Bruce's mom, leaving him with nothing but billions of dollars under his name, making him the youngest billionaire in the world. So you know, could be worse. Then we meet Jim Gordon, and then this commissioner dude is like, we got him. Bruce ends up feeling responsible for his parents' death because he made them leave the theater. So technically, yes, it is 100% his fault. Liam Neeson teaches Bruce how to distract his opponents, become the shadows, and fight on ice and stuff. Then he tells him that his parents' death wasn't his fault at all. Instead, it was his dad's fault because he failed to act with a gun in his face. So Bruce gets all mad and fights back harder. He thinks he's won the fight, but Liam Neeson tells him he needs to mind his surroundings, and he gets dropped. Later in the flashback, the dude who killed Bruce's parents is going to be free on parole because he has some information on the notorious Carmine Falcone. But Bruce doesn't like that because that's not justice. He gets a gun and goes to the hearing so he can kill the dude who made him an orphan. He walks towards the guy with nothing to lose, but this lady cock blocks him and kills the dude instead because Falcone sent her. He tells Rachel he wants to thank Mr. Falcone for sending someone to kill the guy, so she pulls a classic woman moment into this underground alley where she shows him how filthy the city has gotten because of Falcone. He makes himself vulnerable by telling her he wanted to kill the guy himself, so she comforts his moment of pain by smacking this poor orphan who misses his parents in the head. Bruce talks to Falcone, and he shows Bruce that he basically runs the city because people fear him. Then they treat Bruce like Blueface's psycho girlfriend and toss him out on the street. He feels super sad because no one loves him, so he gives his hobo his money and his coat, and then he hops on this boat to start a new life in a third world country. He turns to a life of crime to understand why criminals do illegal shit, but then he ends up getting caught by the police, and that's when he gets tossed into the gulag. Then we cut back to the cool ninja cult where Liam Neeson is giving Bruce a whiff of some LSD so he can play some hide and seek. He ends up getting faded in a hole because he starts tripping balls, but he needs to conquer his fears in order for him to be the idea of fear himself. Anyway, Liam ends up cutting Bruce, but he uses his Einstein genius to bamboozle Neeson into thinking this is Bruce, but he's like, gotcha bitch. Ra's al Ghul is absolutely impressed. He welcomes him into the cult, but first he has to execute this murderer for justice. But Bruce is like, that's kind of gross. I don't want to execute this dude. The League of Shadows wants to go to Gotham to basically invade the entire place and kill everyone and give it a hard reset because they believe it's a lost cause. Bruce is too deep into the cult to turn back now, so he grabs his blade and is about to guillotine this dude's head off, but he's like, psych! He tosses the stick of fire into some explosive stuff, causing the place to light up in flames. I get what he's doing here. He doesn't want to kill the criminal, and he also doesn't want these ninjas to destroy Gotham, so instead he causes a huge distraction. But if you really think about it, his actions caused the death of, I don't know, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 people, and who knows how many more. I doubt this criminal couldn't even find a way out. So plus one more. But hey, involuntary manslaughter is better than homicide. Right, Bruce? He ends up saving Liam Neeson twice. He hands him over to some random villager and fucks off to America. He starts telling Alfred he needs to be a symbol so he can serve true justice on a steamy hot plate of fear. We're introduced to Thomas Shelby, aka Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow. Rachel can see right through the bullshit because she knows Mr. Shelby is putting these mafia hitmen in his insane asylum instead of prison because corruption. So he tells her pimp, hey yo man, tell your hoe to mind her goddamn business. And then we cut to Bruce stalking her like a creep, but then he goes home and rediscovers the cave his dumbass fell in when he was a child. So he goes inside to explore the cave like a Minecraft connoisseur, and then a buttload of bats swarm him, nearly giving him rabies, but he don't give a fuck. Then we cut to Peaky Blinders telling Mr. Radalada to take care of the nosy Nancy because she's not minding her business. So he agrees to take care of the problem. Then later, Bruce goes to Wayne Enterprise to surprise the old people running his father's company. They're taking the company public for those juicy stonks, but he's like, I don't give a fuck about all that. I just want a job. So we meet Lucius Fox. He's in charge of the science tech area. Bruce wants to borrow these cool gadgets that are just laying around, and Lucius is all like, this is technically yours, I don't give a fuck. So he takes the $300,000 suit, then he takes it on a test run to Jimbo and asks him some questions on how to take down
El Rata Elada.
All it took was a terrifying stapler and it got him spilling the beans. But then he turns around and tries catching up to the boy, but our man's got bigger balls than the ones this roid user was eating, because he leaps across the building to successfully escape. So after falling on his ass pretty hard, he goes back to Lucius so he can get some sort of fabric so he can make a cape out of it so he can fly and not fall on his ass. But then he sees a pimpin' ass car and he takes it for a test drive and nearly gives Lucius a heart attack. He loves it so much he wants one in black. I don't know how he plans on taking that home without anyone being suspicious. It's like a literal tank. Anyway, back at the Batcave, he got some cool new toys like this cool ass Louis belt, this thing for his cape, and some sharp ass batarangs that can impale someone in the head. This corrupt cop is working for Falcone to make sure everything is a-okay. This guy goes to get more drugs, but he's immediately swallowed up by the shadows, and all his homies are like, hello? Batman is the true essence of a scary ghost. You can't see it, but you know it's there. This one guy is like, where are you? And the Batman's like, here. Then he drops down into this group of bad guys like it's the Royal Rumble. Falcone's like, oh hell nah, and goes back to his Uber driver to leave, but his homie is passed out. He grabs his shotty, but Batman quickly swoops him out of the car, and he's like, dude, that headbutt definitely gave him a concussion. Anyway, moments later, Rachel's leaving the subway thinking everything is cool, but then these two dudes show up to kill her. But luckily for her, Batman came to save her because her stupid taser wouldn't have done jack shit. Batman gives her some photos to rattle the cage of crime so he can crucify them like he did Falcone. The police commissioner is pissed because Batman is doing a way better job than he is. Back at Wayne Enterprises, the current CEO is informed that a top secret weapon that can evaporate the enemy's water supply was stolen from them. Bruce has to keep his appearances as a billionaire, so he goes to some fancy dinner with some bad bitch, and they start swimming in the pool, which is a no-no for this guy. But Bruce is like, get away from me, peasant, I'm buying this hotel. On his way out, he comes across Rachel and she tells him this corny thing, it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you.
Okay.
Later, Falcone tells Crane he knows what's on his search history and he'll rat on him if he doesn't let him in on whatever major scheme he's plotting. So he's like, okay fine, just take a look at my cool mask real quick. Then he gasses him with his fear applying rapid toxin, or fart for short, to make him trip balls and be afraid like Bruce was that one time. But only this time, it's like if you ate way too many edibles and you feel like you're about to die. That's how he must be feeling right now. So Dr. Crane comes out and tells this lady Falcone has lost his mind and he's gonna cure him back at Arkham Asylum. When Falcone got busted, they noticed that the drug shipment was split into two, Falcone's drugs and Dr. Crane's drugs, but they don't know it's his drugs. So Batman goes to interrogate the corrupt money-stealing pig so he could find out where the other drugs were going. He got information he needed by treating him like a yo-yo, and he is so lucky he didn't exceed the weight capacity on that thing. This reporter discovered something he wasn't supposed to and got unalived. Batman goes inside the apartment to discover illegal stuffed animals, but then Dr. Crane comes in and tells his henchmen to get rid of the evidence. So as this dude is taking a piss, Batman smashes his head into the mirror with his cock out, and everyone is like, what the fuck? Batman takes this fool out, but then Scarecrow hits him with his fart gas, so now Batman is tripping balls and all his fears are coming back to haunt him. Then Scarecrow sets him on fire and Batman is like, So Batman gets out of there and calls for his butler. Then he wakes up 2 days later after Lucius made him an antidote. So he tells Lucius to go make more. So Lucius gets right on it. But this guy's like, you're fired. Rachel tells Bruce she's gonna visit Arkham Asylum to go see Falcone. But Bruce, being a simp, he goes there too because he knows it's dangerous. And he's right, because after shoving her nose where it doesn't belong, Scarecrow brings her down to see what he's doing with all the drugs he's making. And she's like, check please, and gets the fuck out of there. But Crane is like,
You're going nowhere.
Batman shows up and all these criminals act like he's the boogeyman. I mean, he might as well be. So these bad guys call the cops, but he doesn't give a fuck because he's taking the bad guys out one by one like a ghost in the shadows. He gets Scarecrow high on his own supply and finds out Ra's al Ghul is behind all of this madness. When the whole police force shows up, they're all like,
SWAT's on the way.
but Jim Gordon is like, fuck all you pussies, and goes inside by himself. Batman swoops him up and tells him Rachel is faded in a hoe, and then he comes up with a plan with Jamie Boy to get her out of there. He needs to distract and disorient the cops to escape, so he calls over a bunch of bats to swarm the building and give everyone rabies. Jim is all like, come on man, we'll take my car. But Batman is like, sorry man, I don't speak broke. And then he drives over these cops, crippling them for life. He's making a getaway, but he's also causing thousands and millions in property damage. He's blowing shit up, wrecking people's cars, driving on rooftops, and sending people to the ER. Also, he can save, what's her name again? Yeah, her. He takes her to the Batcave to give her an antidote. Then she wakes up and Batman gives her some more antidotes to mass produce. And then he roofies her. Alfred thinks Bruce is thrill seeking because he tells him, Oi, what in the bloody hell are you doing there on the telly? I can't do a fucking British accent. Lucius realizes that the giant microwave that was stolen earlier was going to be used to evaporate the entire water supply to drug everyone in Gotham. So Bruce tells Lucius to go make more antidotes, but Lucius kind of can't because they already fired him. So Bruce is like, I don't care, figure it out, nerd. This lady tells Bruce to meet this person. She says his name is Ra's al Ghul, and Bruce is like, that ain't him. And then it turns out Liam Neeson's is actually Ra's al Ghul. Then Bruce pretends to be drunk and roasts all these rich freeloaders so they can leave the house so they won't be harmed. Then Ra's tells Bruce that he's gonna reset Gotham by destroying it, basically. Then they start throwing hands, but Bruce doesn't mind his surroundings again. And then he gets crushed by this burning log. And then SEAL Team 6 shows up to free the insane crackheads. And then the cops are like, damn it. Alfred comes back from dropping off Rachel and saves Bruce. And then Bruce feels like he failed his parents, but Alfred's like, oi, no you didn't, Master Wayne. You get your bloody bum right back up and finish the bloody mission. The cops raise the bridges to Arkham to not let anyone who broke out escape. So now Rachel is stuck in Arkham after giving Gordon an antidote for himself. This kid tells the cops he can't find his mom, but he tells the little boy to go fuck off. But Rachel isn't having any of that, so she goes to yell at the cop, but this ain't no cop. He's part of the League of Shadows. Ra's al Ghul steps out and turns on the microwave machine to evaporate Arkham's water supply and scare everyone with the fart gas. So now everyone is panicking. Gordon uses the antidote on himself and takes this dude out because he was about to shoot these kids. Then he calls the commissioner asking for backup, but he's like, you guys are kind of on your own, so good luck. But then Batman shows up and coincidentally lands in front of Jimmy Johns. He gives him the keys to the Batmobile to blow some stuff up later. Rachel gives Scarecrow brain damage with her taser. Batman also coincidentally finds Rachel to save her from these creepy dudes. And Rachel's like, who are you? And he hits her with a, it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. And she's like, Bruce? No. Batman's plan is to get on the train, beat the shit out of Ra's al Ghul, while Jimmy drives the multi-million-dollar tank across Gotham to blow some support beams up. How did he manage to drive this multi-million-dollar tank for the first time, you might ask? I don't know, beats me, beginner's luck I guess. The train is almost approaching its destination of chaos, but Gordon blows up the support beams and Ra's is like, God damn it. Then Batman decides not to save Ra's from dying. So I don't know about you, but that's another body added to the death count, all in the name of justice. After saving Gotham, Bruce did what Elon did and bought most of the company's stonks, but instead of making the company shittier, he makes it better by firing this dude who fired Lucius and gives his job to Lucius. Rachel gives Bruce blue balls and false hope about them being together when Gotham no longer needs Batman. And then finally, Jimbo tells Batman that there's a bigger threat out there, and that is none other than
I'm the Joker, baby.
the end. And cut.